Okay, let's unpack this. If you've ever tried to figure out insurance, life, health, home, car, even retirement planning, it can feel, well, incredibly overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. Like trying to navigate this huge, confusing map without a compass.
Exactly. And there are just so many options, right? So many terms.
And the stakes feel really high because you're talking about protecting, well, your financial security, your loved ones.
Yeah, and that feeling of being lost or unsure,
Yeah.
it can make you just put it off.
Or maybe get coverage that isn't quite right for you.
Which is why understanding your options,
Right.
or at least knowing where to find some solid guidance is just, well, critical.
It really is. And that brings us to our deep dive today. We're looking into the source material we have on a company called Best American Insurance.
Right. We've got overviews of what they offer, key features, some important facts and stats, even some excerpts from their website.
So our mission here is really to cut through all that information for you.
Yeah, pull out the most important bits.
Exactly, the essential nuggets. We want to help you understand what they're about, what problems they're trying to solve, and how they actually go about finding solutions.
So think of this as your shortcut to getting a clearer picture. We'll help connect the dots on what Best American Insurance is trying to do.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe with the core challenges people face. The stats in the material are pretty eye-opening.
Tell me about it. The one that really jumped out at me was this coverage gap statistic. It says 49% of Americans are completely uninsured for life insurance. 49.
Wow.
And another 40% are underinsured. That's just a massive number of families potentially left vulnerable, isn't it?
It truly is. And the sources connect this directly to what Best American says its goal is. Closing that gap, helping people find tailored life insurance that actually fits.
So they position it not just as selling a product, but addressing this, like national vulnerability.
Precisely. And it's not only about replacing income if someone's gone. The material also talks about immediate expenses.
Right, like funeral costs. The sources say they can run up to $20,000.
Yeah, and that half of Americans couldn't cover that out of pocket, just like that.
Oof. That really highlights the need for something like final expense insurance, doesn't it?
Exactly. It's designed specifically for those end-of-life costs, so that burden doesn't fall on the family when they're already grieving.
And the sources mentioned something about inheriting debt.
Yeah, that 46% of people expect their loved ones will inherit their debt. Final expense coverage could help avoid that.
Inheriting debt on top of grief. Wow, that's heavy. The stats also hit on planning for the longer term, right? Beyond just immediate loss.
They do. Another big number that jumped out, 60% of Americans have no formal retirement plan.
60%.
And get this, 60% also have no estate plan.
60% on both. That feels like a ticking clock for future security.
Yeah.
And making sure your wishes are actually met.
It absolutely does. And there's another fact from the website excerpt that adds to it. 45% of retirees will run out of money during retirement.
45%.
Yeah. So that makes things like comprehensive retirement and estate planning solutions, which the sources say Best American offers, incredibly relevant.
Okay, so these statistics paint a pretty clear picture. A lot of people are missing basic coverage, they're unprepared for end-of-life costs, and they haven't really planned for retirement or their legacy.
Big gaps.
So how does Best American Insurance present itself as, the way to navigate all this?
Well, the sources really emphasize their core offering is providing comprehensive insurance solutions, but importantly, tailored for unique needs.
Tailored, okay.
The overarching theme seems to be protecting what matters most, offering protection you can trust and the coverage you deserve. You see those phrases popping up.
Okay, so it's a broader approach than just selling policies.
Yeah.
What's the how behind that? How do they deliver on that promise?
A really big point the sources highlight is their wide network of carriers.
Go.
They represent over 120 trusted carriers.
Whoa, over 120. That's a lot. So for you, the listener, what does that actually mean? What's the benefit of that network?
Well, it means they aren't just trying to shoehorn you into whatever one specific company offers.
Right.
With access to that many carriers, they can genuinely shop around for you. They can compare options, find competitive pricing,
And build coverage that's really tailored to your specific situation, your budget, your priorities.
Exactly. Instead of just giving you a one-size-fits-all policy, the material calls it accessing the best selection.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having an extra guide who can search across like 100 different shops to find exactly what you need.
That's a good analogy. And key to navigating all those options is their focus on expert support.
Huh.
The sources stress you get access to experienced licensed advisors. They're described as subject matter specialists.
So not just people reading from a script. The material mentions personalized consultation, ongoing support, aiming for zero guesswork, and expert guidance.
Right. It sounds like they really position themselves as partners in this whole process.
Like a partner.
Okay. And that partnership apparently goes beyond just picking a policy. They talk about working with your other advisors, maybe a financial planner or a lawyer you already have,
Oh, interesting.
and coordinating across different types of insurance, home, auto, life, business, trying to eliminate gaps and make sure everything lines up with your overall financial goals. They call it seamless integration.
Seamless integration. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So their approach is expert-guided, drawing from this huge network to create customized integrated plans. Given that, what specific tools or products do they actually offer? To tackle those needs, we talked about the coverage gaps, planning, unexpected costs.
Well, the product line detail in the sources is pretty extensive. It looks like they aim to provide those solutions under one roof.
Makes sense.
So for tackling that life insurance gap and unexpected loss, they cover various types.
Right, like term life. Yeah, that's coverage for a set period, yeah.
Yeah.
Often for income replacement while you're working.
Exactly. And then there's whole life or universal life. Those are types of permanent coverage. They can last your entire life, often build cash value.
Okay.
And they specifically mention mortgage protection insurance and final expense insurance, which we already touched on.
Got it. And what about health? Protecting against medical expenses. That's another huge area of vulnerability for people.
Oh, absolutely critical. They list health insurance options covering individual and family plans, supplemental plans.
Supplemental, like to help with co-pays or deductibles, that kind of thing.
Precisely. And they mentioned helping navigate the ACA marketplace options like PPO or HMO plans. They also list basics like dental, vision, and prescription drug plans.
Okay, quick sidebar on PPO and HMO. Just the basics for someone feeling overwhelmed by acronyms.
Good call. Basically, a PPO usually gives you more flexibility. You can often see doctors outside the network, though it might cost more.
Okay.
An HMO typically keeps you within a specific network, and you often need a referral from your main doctor to see a specialist. So different ways to structure access and cost.
Got it. Different structures for different needs. The sources also mentioned long-term care and disability insurance.
Yes, super important for protecting your income and assets if you, say, become unable to work or need extended care down the road.
Okay.
They also list things like indemnity plans and expense sharing plans, just different ways to manage health care costs.
Okay, so life and health are covered pretty thoroughly. What about the planning piece? Retirement and legacy.
Right. This is where they bring in solutions like annuities.
Annuities. Okay, explain that simply.
Think of it like a contract, usually with an insurance company, that's designed to give you a guaranteed stream of income later on, especially for retirement.
Guaranteed income. People like the sound of that.
Definitely. The sources mention standard annuities, but also more specific strategies like IUL, that's indexed universal life. It's a type of permanent life insurance linked to a market index.
Okay.
And concepts like debt-free life and infinity banking, which seem to involve using these types of policies strategically for, like, wealth building and financial control.
That sounds a bit more complex, but the main idea is they offer tools aimed at building retirement income and securing that financial future.
Exactly. And that ties into their broader retirement planning solutions and estate planning guidance.
Helping with wills and trusts and stuff like that.
Yeah, helping protect and transfer assets. Addressing that statistic, we mentioned the 60% of people without an estate plan.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not just personal coverage, right? The sources mentioned business insurance, too.
They did,
Yeah.
recognizing that businesses have their own unique risks. They offer things like key person insurance.
Which protects the business if a really critical employee passes away.
Right. Or buy-sell agreements, which help owners plan for transitions, and group benefits for employees, group health, group life, that sort of thing.
And the website excerpt you mentioned also specifically listed home and auto, didn't it?
It did. For home, standard homeowners, renter's insurance, which is crucial if you don't own.
Yeah, protect your stuff.
Right. Condo co-op, mobile home, landlord insurance if you rent out property, and flood insurance too.
And auto. The usual suspects?
Yep. Liability, collision, comprehensive, which covers things like theft or weather damage, plus personal injury protection and uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage.
Okay, wow. So looking at that whole spectrum, life, health, final expense, annuities, retirement, estate planning, business, home, auto care, It really reinforces that under one roof idea, simplifying what feels like a massive puzzle.
It certainly seems to be the goal. And there's one feature that kind of spans across some of the life policies that the sources really highlight: living benefits.
Ah, yes, living benefits, using the policy while you're still alive. How does that work, and why is it emphasized so much?
So this is a really valuable feature that's often built into permanent life insurance policies.
Okay.
It essentially lets you access a portion of your death benefit before you pass away, but only under specific circumstances.
Like what?
Like if you're diagnosed with a chronic or terminal illness, or sometimes a critical illness.
Okay, so it's not just for your beneficiaries after you're gone.
Okay.
It can actually help you financially during a major health crisis.
Exactly. You could use it for medical bills, maybe in-home care, lost income, whatever you need during that tough time.
That sounds incredibly useful.
It is. And the sources note something interesting. 72% of Americans apparently recognize that life insurance can provide living benefits.
Okay, high awareness.
But only 25% of people with permanent policies actually take advantage of them.
Huh. Why do you think that gap exists? 25% seems low if 72% know about it.
Well, it could be a few things. Maybe not understanding how to access them, or not realizing their specific policy has them, or maybe just confusion about the process when they're already dealing with an illness.
That makes sense. It can be complicated.
And this is where Best Americans focus on expert support and sort of education comes back in. They aim to help clients understand these benefits and potentially use them if needed.
Yeah.
One source even projected that 68% of individuals and families will actually draw upon their living benefits at some point.
68% will use them. That's a huge number. It really underscores how important having that feature is and knowing how to use it. It's way more than just a death benefit then.
Precisely. These living benefits, sometimes coupled with cash value access in certain policies, add this layer of financial flexibility during your lifetime. It ties right back to that protection you can trust idea.
Okay, so when you put it all together, the huge range of products, the expert guidance, that massive network of carriers allowing for real customization, the focus on living benefits and planning, it does seem to build a case for what they call a complete financial security package.
Yeah, it's presented as being about peace of mind. Knowing your family's future is protected, maybe building some wealth or stability through things like annuities, and making sure loved ones aren't suddenly burdened by costs or debt.
And the sources mentioned that confidence boost, right?
Yeah.
70% of people with life insurance feel more confident.
Right. That feeling of confidence seems like a key outcome they're aiming for.
Okay, so if someone listening is feeling like those statistics resonate, or they're overwhelmed by options and they like this idea of expert guidance and lots of choices, how do they actually, engage with Best American Insurance? What's the process like, according to the sources?
Well, the sources lay out a process they call how it works. From quote to coverage, fast and easy. Sounds like it's designed to simplify things up front.
Step 1 seems to be connect with an expert. Talk about your needs, your situation.
Right. Then step 2 is get a custom quote. This is where they use that big network compare carriers, present options based on your discussion.
And the material emphasizes no pushy sales.
Yeah, it says they focus on listening and just presenting the options clearly.
Okay, so you look at the options, find what you like, then it's apply and activate.
Yep. Apparently, this can often be done online or over the phone, and the sources mention some policies might even be activated the same day. Depends on the type, of course.
Same day is pretty fast for some types.
It can be. And then the final step is basically rest easy, you're covered, and they emphasize that support is available if you need it, real people and real answers.
That does sound pretty straightforward, especially compared to trying to piece it all together yourself. The sources also hit on some common questions people might have, right from their FAQ section.
They did, yeah. Addressing potential roadblocks, like a big one. Does working with an agent cost me extra money?
And the answer is?
Explicitly no. The agent gets paid by the insurance carrier or the state, not directly by you.
Good to know. Another one. Can I save money just buying online myself? People might think that.
Right. But the sources clarify that insurance premiums are regulated. They generally stay the same whether you use their agent or try to buy directly from a carrier online. The agent's value is supposedly the expertise and access to all those options.
Makes sense. What about medical exams? Are they always required? That can put some people off.
Not always. They mention options like guaranteed issue or simplified issue policies where a full medical exam isn't needed, though coverage limits or costs might be different for those.
Okay, so there are possibilities even if you're worried about an exam. And bundling. We touched on that. Can you actually bundle different policy types with them?
Absolutely. The sources explicitly say bundling like auto, home, life is possible, and even encouraged. It can often lead to discounts. It just makes things simpler, having fewer places to manage.
Fewer bills, potentially lower costs. Sounds good. And policy start dates. Does coverage begin right away?
That varies by the specific policy. So, advice is always read your documents carefully or just ask your agent to be sure. But the process itself aims to be efficient.
Gotcha. The sources also mention some practical next steps people can take, like getting a free quote.
Yeah, a free quote to just explore the options without obligation.
And also a free policy review.
Right, which seems like a really good idea even if you already have insurance. Just to check if your old policies still actually meet your needs today. Life changes, right?
That policy review sounds super valuable. Things change so fast, and those old policies can be confusing. The testimonials mentioned, like truly listened and easy to understand, seem to align with that guidance focus.
They do. It sort of reinforces the idea that the expert support piece is central to their whole value proposition, especially given how complex all this insurance stuff can be.
Okay, so we definitely covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive. We started with those pretty stark statistics about the need for better financial protection and planning.
Yeah, the coverage gaps, retirement worries, unexpected costs.
Then we explored how Best American Insurance positions itself to meet those needs through that expert guidance, the huge carrier network, allowing for tailored solutions.
And that really wide range of products covering everything from personal life and health to business needs, retirement, estate planning, home, auto, trying to be that under one roof solution.
Right. They emphasize simplifying complex decisions, building these comprehensive protection plans, and acting as a partner through life's changes, all aimed at helping you feel more confident about your financial future.
That seems to be the core message coming through the sources.
So we've laid out the stats. We know many Americans lack coverage, are unprepared for retirement, face potential financial hardship. Thinking about all that, maybe the final thought for you listening is, considering these facts, what steps might you take now to assess your own financial security? How can you ensure you have the right protection in place for what matters most in your life?